All right, let's talk about something kind of scary. Imagine you spend millions of dollars, countless hours, building a cutting edge AI. Then your competitor comes along and just clones it for a few $1,000s. This isn't some far off sci fi plot. This is model stealing, and it's happening right now.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. $2 million. All that research, all that data, all that work, your entire competitive advantage, copied for less than the price of a beat up used car. It's an absolutely crushing way to level the playing field.
So the big question is, how on earth is this even possible, right? You're probably picturing some super complex Mission Impossible style hack. But the reality is way, way simpler, and honestly, a lot more worrying.
Okay, let's dive into what we're calling the $5,000 heist. And that name, well, it really hits the nail on the head when you start to look at the brutal economics of it all.
Just look at the difference here. It's wild. On one side, you've got your original model, 2 million bucks and a year and a half of grinding away to build a real competitive edge. On the other side, your competitor gets a functionally identical model in just a few weeks for 5 grand. They've just reverse engineered all of your hard work. This isn't just a game changer, this is the kind of thing that can literally kill a business.
So, how do they actually pull this off? Well, like I said, it's not some covert, shadowy operation. It's actually a pretty systematic 4-step process. Let's walk through the playbook.
It's surprisingly simple, really. First, they just start hammering your live API with thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of very specific crafted queries. Step 2, they're recording everything, every single input they send, and every single output your model gives back. It's like they're building a massive cheat sheet. Then, for step 3, they take all that collected data, all those questions and answers, and use it to train their own much cheaper model. And finally, step 4, their model doesn't need to understand how yours works at all. It just learns to mimic its behavior. It sees an input and knows exactly what to spit out because it's seen your model do it 1,000 times. Boom, a functional clone.
But wait a second, what's the core vulnerability that makes this whole thing possible? It all comes down to a fundamental principle that can turn your greatest asset, your API, into your single greatest weakness. It's called the observer problem. And think about it like this. If you could watch a master chef cook 1,000 different dishes, you wouldn't need the recipe book, right? Eventually, you'd figure out their techniques just by observing the ingredients going in and the final plate coming out. You don't need the blueprint, you just need to see the results. Well, your API, that's the perfect window into your kitchen. And here's the crucial, hard truth. You see your API as a product, but a savvy competitor, they see it as a knowledge extraction tool. Every single API call they make is a small transfer of value, of intelligence, from your expensive model straight to theirs.
Okay, that was all pretty bleak, I know. But here's the good news. You are not helpless here. We've talked a lot about the problem, so let's shift gears and talk about the solution. It's time to build a digital fortress around your IP. There are 4 essential tactics you need to think about. First, rate limiting. Pretty straightforward, right? You just prevent a flood of automated queries from overwhelming your system. Second, query monitoring. You've got to watch for those suspicious, non-human patterns of use. Third, and this is pretty clever, is watermarking. You can actually embed hidden, invisible signals in your model's outputs. That way, if a cloned model starts spitting out those same signals, you've got proof of theft. And fourth is something called output perturbation. Basically, you add tiny, imperceptible bits of noise to the outputs. So small a person would never notice, but it makes it much, much harder for a machine to create a perfect copy. You know, when it comes down to it, it's really this simple. Normal users are random, they're messy, and unpredictable. A bot that's trying to steal your model's logic, it's going to be systematic. It'll be too clean, too organized. Recognizing those unusual patterns is your first and best line of defense. It's the alarm bell telling you a heist might be in progress. Ultimately, this all comes down to a shift in mindset. Think about it. You would never leave your company's source code unprotected, right? Of course not. Well, you need to start thinking of your AI model in the exact same way. It's the culmination of all your research, your data, your investment. It is your source code. So we'll leave you with this question. Take a good, hard look at your own systems and ask yourself honestly, is your API a product or is it a vulnerability? Have you inadvertently built the perfect tool for your competition to use against you?